if somebody's been in a relationship previously, but they're still older and haven't quite settled down yet, I have to look at it from my perspective, I think, which is I'm just not settling. I wouldn't say I'm extremely picky, but I have high standards. And I'm going to stick to those until I find somebody who meets them and I am happy with. And I don't think that's a problem.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of The Report. Today, we are in the studio here in downtown San Diego, and we got a little heat wave outside, but it feels like summer, and we're almost at the halfway mark of the year, so super excited for that, and really excited because I got an amazing guest today who's in the dating space. She's a co-creator of a new dating app called Yes Dating. I got Jordan McMurtry. Jordan, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. I appreciate you coming by, and thank you for coming out to our yacht meetup this past weekend. Do you have a good time out there?
I did. I got a little burnt
Did you?
recovering, but yeah, it was amazing. It was really, really cool. So yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I got to meet one of your girlfriends. She was really nice as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, good vibes all around. I think the first time we met was actually locally here in San Diego at Oxford. It was who was it? We were down at Oxford. It was one of your girlfriends.
Yeah. So Oxford is actually a partner of ours.
Okay.
So yeah, we end up there quite a bit.
Mhm.
And so do our users.
It was through Cole Mueller.
He actually joined our table.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, he was at his own table. I think it was his dad's birthday.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, and then we were there for a photo shoot actually, and turned into a very fun night. So
Yes, absolutely. That was a good time.
yeah.
So, anyways, I'm really curious to talk about your dating app and that sort of thing. I had Michael Sartain on the podcast not too long ago, and he talks a lot about dating and all that sort of thing, the ins and outs, why women are into men, why men are into women, why women cheat on men, and that sort of thing. But you just went out there and basically started a dating app. You're a co-creator. Tell me how this dating app came to fruition.
Sure. So in 2019, my co-founders came to me. I worked for one of them at the time. I started as a personal assistant, moved up to executive, and he approached me with the idea back then and said, "Do you think this is a good idea? You're young and in San Diego and dating." And I thought it was a fantastic idea. One of the definite problems within dating and dating apps specifically is it ending in messaging or exchanging phone numbers, following each other on Instagram, and it not actually getting to a date. Something, we really push within our dating app, and the whole dating app is built around it, are actual dates. So whether that's a one-on-one date, a double date with your best friend, or a group date where you're getting to know other singles, looking to meet other singles, and that can really end in a friendship or a date. It's really getting those people out there that enjoy experiences, also are single and looking to connect with other people like-minded as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, are people really into going on like dates with their friends, first dates?
You know
Is
what?
that a thing?
Our group dates are our most popular.
Really?
Yeah.
I would have never guessed that.
Our group dates are just, there's no pressure. You're with your group of people that you already know, so you can bring friends along or you can show up as a single and meet other people. But yeah, they are our most popular dates by far. The other really popular one I would say would be double dating. One-on-one it's just more pressure, and I think people really like the setting of multiple people involved. You have more connections to make, and if it doesn't end up well, you kind of have an out with your friend. But yeah, double dates are just as popular, but I would say our group dates and group events they're just a hit, honestly.
Yeah, I could see the group thing being more loose, a little bit less intimate, less pressure. We host a lot of events, and so I get an opportunity to kind of get to know a lot of folks at a group level. Like we're at the yacht meetup, we host beers and deals, which is a little bit bigger, but it's good to kind of get to know people without pressure. That I wouldn't consider those dates, but those are like networking events to where
Still a
you get to kind
connection,
of see how
right?
people interact, connect,
Yeah.
their mannerisms, and that sort of thing. And if you decide to hang out with them after, then you already have a good impression of kind of who they are, which I like.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's a connection either way. So it's something that people really enjoy. And just like your meetups probably are, people connect there anyways. There might be some flirting going on and, people meet up after, but it's the same exact thing. It's just a little bit more targeted within the app, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with our real estate meetup, Beers and Deals, we've been doing this for 5 years. I would say Out of all the real estate meetups I've been to, this one has the best girl to guy ratio.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know why that is. Maybe because a lot of the folks on our team are female. I don't know why, but I feel like we have that one meetup that is like a very close to a 1-to-1 ratio
I
for
love
whatever
that.
reason.
Yeah, and I love it because it's a good balance all around, no matter what comes out of it. So I love that. That's amazing.
So, being local here in San Diego, a lot of women, I hear them say like, "Oh, like the guys here in San Diego, they're just not ready to settle down. It's not the right place to find true love." What are your thoughts behind that?
Yeah, so in a sense, I agree because that's one
Oh,
of the
you agree?
reasons
Okay.
that we built this app.
Mm.
I was stating here in San Diego. I'm still single on
Oh, she's
Yes.
putting it out there. Okay.
um, you can find me on Yes. No, but I was one of those people dating, and I found that a lot of guys wouldn't even go as far as to plan the first date, and that's a red flag. I mean,
They won't even plan it.
that's do you
Give me an
do you want to
example.
go on a date? Sure. Okay, well, do you have an idea of where you want to go? It's like, wait a minute, isn't this a first date and I didn't ask you? So, yeah, we have created a platform for those guys that are looking to date to show off, their dates. Hey, they might have the best date. Let me take you on my yacht, or let's go see a cool movie and a picnic afterwards, or whatever it is. So we have that platform for those guys, but then we're also suggesting dates for the people that are a little bit hesitant to actually post a date. So we'll target their interests and suggest a date based off that. Or, you can check out some other girls on the app and we will suggest a date based on their interests. So you're appealing to their common interests as well.
I always think that for any guy out there listening, if you are doing a first date, you should plan the date in an environment that's going to make you most comfortable because then that's going to allow your true characters to come out, the good side of you, and then she's going to get to see that. But I always say you should also keep the date moving as a general rule of thumb. So a lot of guys will plan a date and they might pick a dinner spot and they'll sit at the same dinner spot with the same server and the same ambiance for like 3 hours. On the flip side, you can keep that date moving, meet somewhere for a drink, go hit the Padre game for a couple innings, and then go grab dinner somewhere. And by the time you get to the end of the 3 hours, the girl kind of feels a lot more comfortable because she's been on, 3 different venues with you and then has a chance to get to know you while you're kind of transporting from place to place. By the end of the night, it builds a lot more trust than just sitting at the same spot for 3 hours where it kind of goes still a little stale.
For sure. Yeah. I always say if you're only going to do one place, I always say drinks or coffee. But if you want a whole date, do something like that to keep it moving, keep the interest there, keep the comfortability. And if they're not comfortable in the first place, they might be comfortable in the second place. So yeah, I agree 100%.
I agree. I think if it's the first one, something casual, like, hey, let's meet for coffee or drinks. It's not a big commitment. And then if it doesn't go smoothly, you can just cut it. Because the odds are, I think most first dates are not going to be aligned, and it is what it is. But if it is aligned, then you can continue it and you can invite her to the next spot.
For sure. Yeah. One of the things that I always say, and I don't mean to talk down on men, so
Talk down. Let's hear it.
don't
Let's
take
hear
it
it,
that
Jordan.
way. But
Flex on them, Jordan.
I think women have great intuition. And a lot of the times they don't trust it. But I know women know within the first 30 seconds to 3 minutes of a date whether they're going on another date and whether they have any interest. And so some women don't pay attention to that intuition, but some do. And that's why I think coffee or drinks is a great start to kind of, if you need to cut it short, it's short. If it's not, let's go grab another drink.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I hear a lot of guys out there say, oh, like, I think she's into me, but I'm not sure. I'm like, guys, if a woman's into you, she's going to let you know, first of all. But the best way to know, and Michael Sartain and I talked about this on our episode, is compliance. So a woman complying with like, hey, let's go to another spot, or hey, do you want to meet for dinner tonight or tomorrow night? And her saying, yes, let's do it. That's compliance, her moving and wanting to do that.
100%. Yeah.
If a woman's always making excuses, oh, maybe not tonight, maybe another time, girl's not into you. I
Yeah,
hate to break it to you.
for sure. That should be a great sign.
Most girls are being hit up by a lot of dudes. And so, yeah, you got to realize that. So I think if a girl declines a date 2 or 3 times, probably not a good sign. But on the flip side, I don't think a guy should be asking a girl out 3 times in a row and getting 3 no's.
Yeah,
Yes.
100%. One of the things that I wanted to mention as well is a lot of girls on our app post dates as well.
So when you say post dates, what do you mean?
So if you were to download our app, which I
Okay.
hope you do, but if you were to download
I'm
our,
not on any dating apps at all.
maybe that'll change. I'm gonna try. Anyways, if you were to log on to our app, you would build a profile in about maybe a minute and a half, depending on how detailed you would want to get. And then after you're on there, you would see other dates. So when you would say you would log on, you would see girls that posted dates that they would like to go on or even take you on, depending on the girl. So the payment is already set as well.
The payment is set? What do you mean when you say payment?
Yeah, let's split, take me out, or I'll take you out, basically. So all the little fine details are kind of taken out, and it shouldn't be so awkward. There's a place, there's a time, there's a little bit of detail about the location and what you're wanting to do. There's pictures of where you're going, and then on top of that, there's the payment already set.
So, question on the payment.
Sure.
I got my reservations about this, and actually, Alex Johnson on my team, we've repped a couple podcasts and talked about this. But to my surprise, a lot of my female friends out here in San Diego tell me that surprisingly, on the first and second date, a high percentage of men actually offer to split the bill.
Yes.
That is freaking
Yeah.
crazy to me.
Yeah, so one of the reasons that we built that into the app is because those women that don't want anything to do with those men that are looking to split the first date can avoid those dates. So it's already set. You know what you're getting into. You know what type of guy he is from a very small perspective. Learn more, but you know a little bit, and you can go into it kind of knowing,
Yeah.
if
It
he's a
there's
gentleman or
If I
not,
go
if
on a
you
date
will.
and the woman offers to split the bill, there's two ways to look at it as a guy. I think one is like it's a nice gesture by the girl, and it's kind of like a test, but I never split the bill, and I won't have any expectations. I'll never split the bill, especially on the first date. However, on the flip side, it could also mean like, hey, the girl's just not interested in you, doesn't want to owe you any favors after the date.
For sure. Yeah, there's always that as well. But yeah, we basically built that in to kind of mitigate that awkwardness.
Yeah. Okay, so that's interesting. So a girl will say, hey, this is the ideal date that I want to go on, and I'm willing to split the bill.
Yeah, and then there's other dates, like a lot of the girls on our app enjoy the farmer's market, for instance. It's a great date. You have things to talk about, you're walking, you're enjoying, the different vendors. You can grab some food if you want, or you can cut it short and say, this was great. But, those dates are free. So there's always that option as well.
What is Jordan's favorite ideal first date in San Diego?
First date, like I said, a drink, but I'm not drinking right now, or, meet up for a coffee. I am a little bit funny when it comes to this because,
Really?
yeah, I
Why?
I like to know where the guy is going to pick. It kind of tells me something. If they're going to this, the most popular joint in San Diego, they probably don't know San Diego that well. But if they're picking like kind of a cool low-key coffee shop that I may know of or might not know of, I'm like, okay, he put some effort in. He didn't just Google, best coffee shop in San Diego or best place to grab drinks. So I know that sounds a little bit judgy, but it's something that I've just learned over the years, if somebody's kind of into planning the date or not and how much effort's going into it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so let me throw a few date ideas out there for you,
Sure.
and then you grade them.
Okay.
Let's grade them 1 through 10. 10 being like this is 10 out of 10 the best, 1 being like this is terrible, and then we can say like 5 is like so-so, but you probably wouldn't go.
Okay.
Okay. So, how about dinner and drinks at Brian Malarkey's restaurant, Urban Wood, here in Lit, Italy?
I love Urbanwood. So I would say is dinner and drinks for a first date. It's getting a little bit
This is
low.
the first date.
Yeah, a
This
little
is the
lower
first
for
date.
score. I would say like 7.
7.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's pretty strong.
I would prefer just the drinks at Urbanwood.
If you were leaning towards going, it wouldn't like sway you
No.
in either direction. You would be like, okay, let's do
I'd
it.
go
Okay. Hiking Torrey Pines and grabbing coffee on a Saturday morning.
as a first date.
Yes.
That's a long date.
It's an hour hike.
Yeah, for me
Yeah.
anyways, that's a long date for a first date.
It's going to be quicker than the dinner at Urban Wood.
Maybe not because you're stuck. You're stuck at hiking, probably somewhere in the
Yeah, it's a quick hike though. The whole hike is 1 hour. So if you grab
Sure.
coffee on the way, hike, you're in and out of there. Maybe the whole date would be an hour and a half.
Yeah, I would say personally,
Yeah.
I'm a 5 on that one.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. What about sunset cruise on the boat, and a glass of wine
I love that.
out here in San Diego Bay?
On a first date, again, that could be tough because you're stuck on a boat and you don't want to feel rude asking to get taken back before the boat owner, right, is ready. But I would say it's a good date. So like a 6. Six
Okay.
and a
Okay.
half, we'll
So
give it.
so far, Urban Wood is leading the way. Okay.
Yeah.
One more. Saturday morning, coffee and farmers market here in Little Italy.
Yeah, I love it. That would be a 10.
A 10.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay. So
Yeah.
now we know.
Yeah.
Well, now we know what
I
Jordan's
love
favorite
that.
date is.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. I think for the guys out there, it's like, well, there's a lot of dates that work, but I think ultimately the girl's into you. Most of these dates are gonna work if she's comfortable with you. She's gonna do them. But put a little bit of effort into it and take the initiative. I like, when I go on a date, I like kind of planning it and kind of controlling, moving things forward. Girls don't want to go on, most girls don't want to go on a date and make all the decisions. And to be honest with you, if I go on a date with a girl and she's like making the decisions or she's like, oh, I don't know if I want to go there. Why don't we try here? I'm like, that kind of puts me off a little bit, to be honest with you. I'm just not into that. But if like I'm always open to suggestions, right? So it's like, hey, like, I'm not into seafood. Well, great. Like, what are you into? Let's go there. I totally get that. But if a girl is like, kind of type A and just trying to control the entire date, I'm not really into that either.
Yeah,
But some guys might like that.
I
Some guys
think
like to be told what to
most
do,
girls don't want to
make
make
decisions.
decisions on a date, especially a first date. You want to
Yeah.
be There's a funny trend where it's like if he picks me up at or if he says I'll pick you up at 7, you're like immediately ready.
Mm.
Because and you kind of takes the planning and the awkwardness out of it. And again, going back to the app, that's why it's so great because you know what you're expecting, you know where you're going, you know what time, and then the only thing you have to figure out is, hey, are we going to meet there? Uber, like what's going on with transportation? And you can
What are
you
your
can
thoughts on transportation? Because this is a whole nother
sure.
conversation we can have. If I'm like really into the girl, I will say, hey, I'm happy to send you a ride to and from. Like, let's say we're gonna do dinner at a nice restaurant. I'll say, I'm happy to send you a ride to and from tonight. And a lot of girls actually will take me up on that, and I'll send them like a black SUV. I think that's one. But or they might drive or take a ride. What are your thoughts there on the transportation?
I personally, yeah, I've been offered the same thing. Let me send you an Uber Black. I enjoy that because, one, it takes. Well, I'm not drinking right now, but normally it takes the stress out of, drinking and driving. But two, it kind of shows a level of care, if you will. So yeah, I think that's the best way to go. But some people maybe they don't even think of that because they haven't even, explored the Uber Black situation. Maybe they don't Uber themselves. So I always think it's nice when a guy offers, in a sense, to pick you up. I most likely won't take it because of a security, but other than that, I think it's nice to offer for sure.
By the way, I just remembered who it was that introduced us at Oxford. It was Scarlett Bentley. It
Yes.
wasn't Cole Mueller, but I met Scarlett through Cole,
Yeah. She
and
does his social.
Scarlett introduced you and me that night.
Yeah. She does my social, with SoCal Social. Big fan. She does amazing. I love working with Scarlett. I actually met with her about, I would say, 8 months prior to our launch. And I just wanted to meet up with her, see what her take was on the app. So she's known about it for quite a while. And then we started working together in February, and she's amazing. And her team's amazing. Photographer, videographer, Sydney is absolutely incredible. They execute our vision so well and really stick to the branding. And they care about our goals and our KPIs and if we're meeting them or not. So our weekly check-ins are definitely amazing with her. And yeah, no complaints. She's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Shout out to Scarlett. I'm a
Yeah,
fan. I'm a fan.
yeah.
She was actually on Below Deck. Did you know that? Below Deck Bravo. That's pretty cool. So, speaking of marketing, I'm gonna throw a little plug out there. So we just announced today, we are gonna be hosting our official Summers Capital holiday party, December of 2024, and we're gonna be giving away a 2024 Range Rover, and we're gonna have a VIP artist to come in and perform. We're talking to Ja Rule. Sean Coughlin's going to host it. I'm going to MC it. And we're going to blow this thing up. So we're in talks with Broadway Pier. We might do it at like an exclusive mansion. We're not sure. But if we do Broadway Pier, we're going to blow this thing up. We're going to drive the Range Rover right into the Broadway Pier. We're going to have, 1,000, 1,200 people come out. And it's going to be fun. We're going to have all sorts of cool giveaways. And it's going to be like black tie, kind of like a cocktail attire, and just like upscale and just really fun. So
Yeah.
you got to come.
I would love to. It sounds
Yes.
amazing.
Yes,
So yeah.
absolutely. Anyway, so I'm curious, what is the most awkward date that you've been on?
Ooh. Um, so I would say There used to be a time in my life when I would kind of just say yes to every date just to see what was out there. I'm no longer doing that, even though my dating app is called Yes.
Hmm.
Sometimes I do say no.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And one of my favorite quotes is, and this applies to everything in life, is starting is about saying yes, growing is about saying no. And so for me right now, I'm saying no to 99% of things that come my way. But when I was first getting in the game, I was saying yes to opportunities because that's how you get the experience.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's a perfect saying for this as well. So I said yes to a date that I wasn't quite sure of, but when it was dinner, one of the times that I learned dinner was not a good first date idea. Was kind of stuck on that date for a very long time. I think he really liked me, but at the end of it, I was like, okay, I gotta kind of get out of here, if you will.
Yeah. What did you not like about the date?
You know what? I find that a lot of guys my age are pretty young-minded still. Recently I've been dating
And
upwards.
you're
If
27?
I'm 27,
Okay.
yeah, I think 32 is a hot spot for me.
That's a hot number for you?
Yeah.
Okay. There we
32
go.
32 or above.
Farmer's market.
Yeah.
And if you're 32,
Yeah,
Jordan's interested
and handsome.
and handsome. Okay.
But yeah, I had to get out of that date basically. I used my dog at the time as an out and because I didn't have the confidence to just be like, "No, I'm not interested in you." I hadn't been on a ton of first dates at that point. Now I'm much more honest. I will tell the
What do you
person,
say?
"You know what? We're just not looking for the same thing." Or your lack of effort has turned me off. If it's that, we just don't align in life right now.
And you'll
There's
get up in the middle of dinner?
no, I'll wait
Go
till the
away
end,
till
but
then.
I
Like when
would
you're saying bye?
yeah, I would just to kind of not keep him guessing and coming back and texting me. So, yeah, I mean,
Do these guys typically, like, after dinner, try to progress the date and be like, "Hey, like, let's go to another spot to grab a drink, or let's go back to my place"?
yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
times. Yeah, and if I'm into it, I will go, for sure. I'll go grab a drink.
Compliant.
Yeah,
There you go.
I mean, of course. So, but if I'm not, it's that out for me. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Michael Sartain said something good when he came on the podcast, recently. He said, "As a guy, you should always be the one to end the date.
Okay.
Always end the date." So, for example, like, let's say that you realize, hey, like, it's she's not wanting to go to the next spot or whatever. It's kind of been a long night. Then you just call the date and you end it, not her ending it, right? So he's like, yeah, just be like, hey, listen, I had a great time, but I got a lot of things to do early tomorrow morning. What are the chances I can call you right home?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, that would be good, I think. I agree with it. It doesn't happen often. I think guys will try to progress a lot of things, whether they're into you or not. They have different motives, depending on the guy. So yeah, I think that's a good note though. I think guys should take that.
I've ended a couple dates before, like in the middle of the date, and I don't do the dating app thing anymore. I've done them before a while back, but I'm not on any apps right now personally, just because I got a lot going on. But these were both like online dates and first dates, and I always like will kind of just meet for a drink to feel them out. But I have season tickets to the Padres. So, but hey, like, let's go to the game, but let's meet for a pregame drink. And like, if it's like super awkward, then I won't even bring him to the game. And so both of these actually just weren't the vibe right off the gate. Like, it didn't look like their photos,
Oh gosh.
weren't like a good vibe. Like, just conversation was really boring and stale. And I was like, literally like 5 minutes, like 3 minutes into it, I knew. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'll wait till the first drink's over. I'll close out and then I'll kind of do it outside of the restaurant. So just walking out and they think, hey, we're going to the game. And I'm just like, hey, I appreciate you coming out, but I don't feel like we're going to be a fit and I don't feel alignment. What are the chances I can call you a ride home? I know it's kind of a difficult conversation to have, but it's like direct. And I'm like, dude, life is short.
You don't want to waste
Like,
time.
yeah, I always
Yeah.
say like months is the best way to measure how much time we have.
Yeah.
And till average life expectancy age is 77, I'm 38. I have like about 458 months left. And so when you think of it in that perspective, it's like, I'm not going to go waste an entire Friday night at a baseball game with someone that I already determined that I'm not into. Why am I going to go do that? I'm not going to be the best version of myself. And it's also not fair to that person.
100%. I think most girls might feel rejected at first, but at the end of the day, when they look back, they would probably appreciate that honesty. But let
In
me
both
ask you.
situations, they texted me after and they said, "Hey, thank you for your honesty. I respect that."
That's what I was wondering. How was their initial reaction when you said it?
Thrown back.
Thrown off,
One of
yeah.
them said, "May I ask you like a little bit more to why?" And I gave her some more reasons why. But I didn't want to say like, "Oh, you look nothing like your photos." I don't think girls want to hear like the full truth. You know what I mean? But yeah, both of them still texted me. This is actually a good tip for any guys out there and girls. When you're direct, yeah, it stings for a little bit. And if it was the other way around, I would respect a woman that was direct to me. You'll find what I find is when I'm direct, more often than not, these girls will like text me later and be like, "Hey, thank you for being direct. I would love to be friends." And that goes a long way for your character. You know what I mean? And brand and reputation is everything. And there's a nice way to do it. You don't need to ghost people. You don't need to disappear on them. Just be completely direct, but say it in a nice way. And you know what? Maybe you can say, "Hey, I'd love to be friends if I'm so lucky to." You don't have to hang out with them, but just saying that, "Hey, maybe we can connect as friends
It
sometime."
ends it in a
That's
nice
huge.
way.
Yeah, on a
Yeah.
good note.
Yeah. I have actually been catfished, now that you bring that up, on a Hinge date. A long time ago, before Yes was out, obviously, I was quite shocked. I was like, wow. It's almost, it was so bad that I was like, wow, he had the confidence to like do this. I was like almost
How
impressed.
bad was the catfish?
Oh, it was really bad. Like nothing like his photo whatsoever. Actually, to the point where halfway through the date, I had to pull out my phone. He like went to the restroom. I had to pull out my phone just to double check that it wasn't me. Like I was like,
Really?
I'm accurate on this, right? Like he looks nothing like, and he looked nothing like, and that was, I don't know if he had done that, how many times he had done that, but it was definitely not well received when I didn't tell him he was a catfish, but I just said, look, this isn't gonna work
How
out.
bad are we talking?
Pretty bad.
Give me an example.
So in his Hinge photo, he had a full head of hair, and then he showed up with absolutely no hair, was way older looking than and we're talking like not in a good way older looking, than he was on Hinge. I think he might have lied about his age as well, lied about his occupation.
Whoa, that's
Yeah,
pretty
and I
bad.
don't think he caught that because I was just in conversation. I'm still gonna have the conversation on the date and, ask him what he does and everything. And yeah, it was completely different than his entire profile. So it wasn't just looks, it was, what he did and kind of how he
Do a lot of
presented
guys lie about
himself.
their height? Because I could see that being a thing.
You know what? I find it's funny. I find sometimes they will put a height and then in their prompts, they'll say like a joke about it. Like I'm really 5'9.5" or something. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think some guys probably do, but overall, I mean, they're not gonna want to show up on the date if it's much different. And so it's like surprise, surprise, I'm 5'5". Like,
Wow.
you know what I mean? So I don't think I think guys have learned over time.
Yeah. I think like buffering it like an inch or two, it's like, okay, like that's expected probably. But like 3, 4, 5 inches, that's a big deal. Yeah. If someone's 5'11" and they say they're 6 foot, like I don't think that's a big deal, right?
Yeah, no.
But 5'5" and 5'10", that's a big
It's a big
difference.
jump.
Girls like, "Yo, you were taller." No, I'm taller than you.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
problem is when you're taller than them and you're like, "Wait a minute, I remember their height being way taller." So,
100%.
yeah.
What about like checking out their Instagram before you go on a date with them? Because for me, if I'm doing online dating and I haven't in a long time, I want to see their Instagram. I feel like by me looking at an Instagram profile, I get a really good idea of like who they are. Are they legit? Do I have mutual friends? Like, do some of my friends follow them? Like, that's big in terms of like trust before and confidence before you go into that first date.
Yeah, you were chatting to me about this the other day on the boat, and you said something, that kind of resonated with me because you said, if they haven't posted in 2 years or something like that, it can be a little bit of a red flag for you because something happens there. They're either lacking confidence or they're maybe feeling a certain way about themselves or what they're doing,
Mm-hmm.
to where they're not, so public about it. That is something we have built into our app. Instagram is fully integrated. So
It will tell you when their last post was.
you can not only look through their posts, see that they're recent, you'll kind of know. But yeah, it's something we've integrated. And I kind of did that. I mean, obviously every app does that, but way back when we were developing, we implemented that from an early stage. And one of the things that I've focused on throughout our entire development process is really making sure that women feel safe on our app. And so that's one of the things that I'm really hard on in every single meeting. whether we're introducing a new feature or not. I kind of look at it from that perspective and make sure, I mean, not only women, everyone feels safe, but I'm really an advocate for women for sure.
If you love real estate investing, passive income, and tax benefits, but don't have the time, my company, Summers Capital, is buying boutique hotels right now. We source the deals, we renovate the properties, and we even handle all the day-to-day management, making it truly hands-off for our investors. If you want to learn more to see if we can help you, visit summerscapital.com/invest to book a call with our team. Again, that's summerscapital.com/invest. Now back to the show. What are some things that you're looking for when you glance at a guy's Instagram before you go on a first date?
Sure. So I'm kind of like you. I'll look at their mutuals and I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't checking out, or it's good mutuals, or so it just depends. But I do look at if they've posted recently. If it hasn't been in a few years, it kind of makes me wonder the same thing. What's going on and why is there that delay? I It gives me a sense of how they're dressing as well and how they're presenting themselves, which I really like. But yeah, I if I log on to or search up an Instagram, and it's all pictures of them drinking, shirtless at the gym, just kind of a little bit egotistical, if you will, it's a red flag for me for sure. I want somebody who's a little bit humble but confident and has a nice balance of both. And I think that really shows through social media, throughout also all platforms as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the tip for a guy. It's like if you're out meeting girls, like every girl will give you their Instagram. And so they're gonna look at that Instagram as like a resume, and it's basically like your first impression, and they're gonna make a determination like, is this guy real? Am I comfortable hanging out with him? Do I want to hang out with him? And so I think if you have an Instagram out there, yeah, and you have like old photos of like you and your like buds from college, like with shirts off drinking beers, or just like photos that are just not a good representation of who you are today, like freaking like archive those photos, go get some freaking professional photos done, like show a little bit of your personality, show a little fun side, and like make it look nice and clean. And that's probably one of the quickest ways to like improve your game as a guy.
For sure. Yeah, I think I agree with that wholeheartedly. A lot of guys' Instagrams that I come across are concerning. Like, why are you even posting this? So yeah, if they did that little cleanup process, they would probably get a lot farther.
Michael Sartain said something good. I'm actually, we're going to post this clip tonight. I think it's going to do really well in terms of engagement. But it's like, this is the biggest red flag if a guy is cheating, is like guys that cheat don't have Instagrams.
100%.
And like and I hear this all the time too. Like I have girlfriends that are like, oh, I met this guy, like lives in New York. He's so successful and like he's so busy. He's running multiple businesses. He has money, but he's a family, or like he doesn't have an Instagram. And I'm just thinking, okay, one, long distance, and he doesn't have an Instagram. I'm like, this guy's married with kids, but he's like, Michael said, guys without Instagrams, those are the ones that are cheating because they have kids and they're married and they have multiple girlfriends in all these different states. Nothing's local. All the girlfriends are long distance, and they can only hang out with you once every 2 weeks.
It's funny that you mentioned that because a lot of women that not only my friends, but girls that I speak with, they're like, you can figure out so much through who a guy is following and who is following them back. And if you're in a relationship, and if it's a toxic one, you're probably keeping tabs on that. And you know exactly who he is, bouncing around with, if you will. So it's interesting. And that really goes back to girls' intuition. They can look at that and understand exactly what's going on. So I agree. Yeah, if a guy doesn't have Instagram, it's definitely a red flag, especially if they have no Instagram and a Snapchat. Like, that's a big problem. Snapchats shouldn't even be around anymore, in my opinion. But no social media, but a Snapchat is like, okay, run the other way.
I haven't done Snapchat since probably 2017. I stopped Snapchatting. I thought Snapchat was so cool when they were the first to hit the story mode and before Instagram had it. And then I stopped using Snap when Instagram came out the story mode. They totally ripped them on it. And then that's when I just completely came off that app. But I'm surprised to hear that people still use it.
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of my girlfriends, they will get an ad like, hey, your new contact is on Snapchat. They just added you. And that's like
Major
an
red
immediate
flag.
no. Like, they're all like, okay, why did they just add me on Snapchat? He hasn't even texted me yet.
So this
like,
is a new contact in your address book.
yeah,
Oh, because it
but
will pop up in Snap like, hey,
so he will
got it.
probably get a notification that says your new contact is on Snapchat, and then he'll request her. And it's like, you haven't even texted me yet, messaged me, nothing, and you're adding me on Snapchat, especially if it's after a first date, like with no follow up, it's like, this isn't going to turn into this back and forth Snapchatting. Like, that's not where I want to go with it. So I think, yeah, Snapchat is definitely a red flag, but no social on Snapchat. No.
Yeah. Okay, so let me throw a couple scenarios out at you, and you rate this just like we did the previous one, 1 through 10. And these are like off the dating apps situations where you're out and about, and a guy's gonna come approach you and like ask you out. But before we get into that, do you prefer a guy to, let's just say that you meet a guy at the gym or like at the park or whatever it is, maybe you're grabbing coffee and you casually meet a guy, you guys chat for a minute. Do you prefer a guy to say, hey, great chatting, we should connect sometime, are you on social media, exchange Instagrams, and then like a couple days later he like invites you out via Instagram? Or would you prefer a guy to like literally just like dive in first minute of meeting, ask you on a date?
Um, I think it depends on the situation. If there is like clear chemistry there within meeting, I think it's kind of, cool to ask somebody out on a date because it shows that confidence. But yeah, typically I enjoy having that conversation and then an Instagram exchange and then a message. It kind of gives me a little bit of control once I again check
Yeah,
out that
you're not being
Instagram.
put on the spot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so I get to check out the Instagram, decide if I'm even going to entertain it. But yeah, no, if there's that clear chemistry there within that short time frame, ask me on a date. Like totally, because I want to explore that further and continue the conversation. Kind of goes back to what you're saying with compliance. Like they're going to say, "Yeah, I want to go on a date with you." Girls are pretty, I mean, if they're not honest within their words, they're honest within their expressions. So I think it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with you. I think you got to feel it out. You got to read the room in everything we do in life, whether it's business, real
Yeah.
estate, dating. I don't have kids, but I'm sure raising your kids, it's all about reading the room. And so if you feel the chemistry, you feel like she's into you, like, yeah, just be direct. Hey, I'd love to take you out sometime if you're open to it.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
then
what's the worst that can happen? They're gonna say no. Okay, great.
exactly.
It's
If
not
there's
that big of
already
a deal.
that connection, it's super attractive to show
Hmm.
that confidence, you know what I mean? So it goes a long way.
Yeah. Okay, so situations where a guy might approach you, grade it 1 through 10. You're at the gym, working out.
Um, Typically no, like maybe
Okay,
maybe a 2.
a two.
Kind of
Well, how
in my
come?
own zone at the gym. Unless it's somebody that I'm like, okay, he's really attractive. I like his mannerisms. Yeah, I think it's situational on that one, but typically I am like locked in. It's kind of my, as it probably is for you, your own time to kind of shut off, and we don't get much of
I
that.
think there's a
So,
difference. So like I think my this is my take on the gym thing.
sure.
I think if you're at the gym and it's the first time seeing a girl there at the gym and you're just gonna go in for it, I think that's pretty aggressive. But I think if this is your home gym, you were working out there for 6 months and you've seen this girl, she like works out 4 or 5 days a week. You guys been seeing each other for weeks now, and you're like, hey, like you guys just happen to be doing a set next to each other. Hey, my name is so and so. Nice to meet you. I just wanted to say hi. I see you here all the time. That's nonchalant. I think that's totally fine.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
But if it's like first impression, just go in for it, I think
Yeah,
that's a little aggressive.
yeah, I agree with that for sure.
Okay, so another one. Let's say that you are at the gas station pumping gas, and a guy is next to you and rolls up on you.
Um,
Because I'm sure you've gotten that before, right?
yeah, I'm a little on guard at gas stations, I feel like. I don't know why.
Well, because you're around strangers, you're around. Sometimes
Yeah,
there's homeless people rolling
by
through. Like you never know
myself.
what you're gonna get.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
you could get your car
Um,
stolen.
yeah, so typically I don't engage at gas stations. But yeah, if he was super attractive, super nice, maybe we fell into a conversation somehow or like, paying for gas at the same time. I don't know. If there's that connection there somehow, I don't think I'd be opposed to him breaking up that silence and saying, hi, I think you're beautiful or whatever it is. I don't think I'd be opposed to it, but I'm definitely more on guard. So I would say, probably not.
Yeah.
Just depends for
Okay.
sure.
Okay. Let me throw another one out there. Let's say you're on an airplane flight.
I enjoy airplanes a lot.
Yeah.
I like to be a little bit, well, it depends on how long the flight is. I like to be social. In those settings, I think you can meet some really cool people. I've actually, on my way to Croatia, I got asked out on a date. He was flying into Croatia as well. And I ended up saying no because I wasn't sure safety-wise, but I ended up taking his Instagram and we stayed in touch. But I like the idea of being social on a plane, having that conversation. If it's a really great conversation, and we're clearly attracted to each other, not just on a physical level, then I'd totally be open to it. Especially if we're landing at a layover, like, let's grab a drink together, you know?
I think the airplane is one of the easiest ways because you get a chance to conversate with them without any pressure. You're just sitting next to each other or whatever it might be. Maybe it's across the aisle, and especially if it's a longer flight. I mean, you get a chance to really communicate and then see if it's aligned. But I think more often than not, you're probably not going to be living in the same area, and it might be a
Yeah,
kind of a long distance fling type of
probably
thing.
a long distance fling for sure,
Yeah.
but
What are your
yeah,
thoughts on long distance?
um, I think if you want it and it's that important to you, you will do it. But that's like anything in life. That's not just long distance. That's like the saying, if he wanted to, he will. That goes both ways for women as well. I personally have never done long distance, but I think if I saw myself with that person for a long time, especially a marriage situation, I would make it work for sure.
Expand on that. You said if he wanted to, he will. What do you mean exactly when you say that?
I mean, that's a pretty popular saying because it's like, you know, for instance, if a guy's not texting you back, that girl internalizes that and says, okay, what did I do wrong? Right? A lot of the times it's a lack of effort. And so if he wanted to, he would make it happen. He doesn't want to. It's not anything to do with you. It's, his own whatever he's got going on. Maybe he's lacking in confidence. Maybe he's really not open to it, but gave you the impression he was. If he wanted to and was able to, he would. So, and again, that's not just for men, in my opinion. I think that goes for women too. If they want something, they will get it. And if they want to date someone, they will do it. And I mean, it goes throughout all of life, right? So I completely agree with that.
What are your thoughts on like the initial first date? Because, the guy's typically the one that has to ask the female out, right? Although some females do kind of hint, they're like, hey, like, let me know, like, I'm free on this night. Let me know if you want to do something. I get that sometimes. But as a woman, it's like you meet a guy and then you really just have to wait and see if they text you to invite you out or not, even if you want to hang out with them, right? So what is that process kind of like for a woman? Because as a guy, I feel like you get to kind of control that narrative.
Are you saying if they do text you or don't text you?
If they don't text you but you want to hang out with them, what's the thought process there for a woman? Do you reach out or do you just let it be?
I do.
You do. What do you say?
Yeah, I think I think over years of not only dating, but growth in general all around, you grow confidence in a different way. And so if I want, like I said, if I want something, I'm going to go get it. So I'm going to make it known that I'm interested, probably to a point where I will straight up ask you out and tell you you're attractive.
Really?
Yeah, I
You'll
mean,
just text them and say that.
not t I mean, more in person, text-wise, I would probably, like you're saying, if that situation were to happen, I would reach out and say, "Hey, would you like to grab a drink this week?" I'm totally open to it. I know a lot of women don't, and they want it to be chased. I want to be chased too, but if there needs to be that, break of communication where you're kind of opening that conversation, I'm totally okay with it.
I love that. Okay, so I'm curious your thoughts on this because I had a conversation with Michael Sartain about this. Actually, I put a clip out on my Instagram last night on this, and he says that like a girl that's a 6 on a scale of 1 to 10 physically can be more challenging to date than a girl that's a 10 on a scale of 1 to 10, depending on how much attention that she gets from other guys and how much stimulus she receives and accepts from other guys. For example, if a girl is constantly being invited to go fly out to Cabo San Lucas or fly out to Las Vegas to go out to the best parties, she's being compensated to go on dates and all this stuff, and she accepts it, that woman's going to be a lot less likely to settle down. If you get her to settle down, she's more likely to not be faithful. Versus the girl that's a 10 that maybe lives in Iowa, she's a freaking nurse, she works like night shifts and she like goes to the gym, walks her dog, and literally like just has a very basic life. She doesn't need a lot of stimulus to get validation, and that girl's going to be a lot easier to date, even though physically she's much more attractive than that 6 that's getting flown all over the world. What are your thoughts on that?
That's an interesting one. I agree to a certain point, but I think it depends on the person. So if a girl is a 10 and she is having the time of her life getting flown all over, she's probably in that era of life, right? And so it would probably be hard to lock her down, especially with so much opportunity, not just dating wise, but in general. There's always like, room for growth. If you go on those trips and you meet somebody, good for your network, it's a good opportunity. But I think it just depends on the girl. I know a lot of beautiful women that are looking for, and I would consider them tens, that are looking for serious relationships and are dating for marriage. So I think it's situational. It just depends. But I think it could go for guys as well. I mean, I see it.
It does go for guys, for
Yeah,
sure.
I think it
I
100%
think
goes
a
for
lot of it
guys.
comes down to options.
Yeah, I mean, I'll run into a guy that's extremely attractive. This happened recently. And was he into me for the moment? Sure. I didn't even go on a date with him. We became friends after, which is totally fine. But he probably would be interested in me because there was a lot of chemistry if he didn't have so many options, right? And that's okay. On the other hand, I have a ton of options, but I don't want to like be I'm humble, but I don't wanna I don't wanna lie here. I have a ton of options, but I'm
Most girls do have a lot of
yeah,
options. I would say, and I think Michael told me this on his first podcast that we did together out in Vegas in his studio, but he told me that the top 20% of guys have 80% of the women on the dating apps, and then the bottom 80% of guys have compete over the bottom 20% of females. That's what it
yeah,
is.
that sounds accurate.
Yes.
But like I was saying, I may have a ton of options, but I'm in a stage in my life right now where I'm dating for a potential life partner. Not sure what that looks like, marriage or just long term.
Does that change your strategy with dating?
Yes.
How so? Give me an example.
I'm not going on dates for fun at this point.
Mm.
Like you mentioned earlier, we have very little time, so I'm not going to spend the time with somebody that I don't see a future with right off the bat. I'm more likely to spend a 4-hour date with somebody that I do see could be a potential partner. But, that's just where I'm at in my life. And that comes, like, I think it comes with age too. But it also was instilled in me from a very young age because I was brought up Christian, and I think, you're searching for your partner throughout life. So you have somebody to not go through life alone. You're not meant to go through life alone. So that's kind of always been my thought process on dating. There was probably a time when I would say like 19 to 21, where I was just having so much fun. Like, and that's okay. That's where I was at that time. So I think it's situational. And it's also where women and men are at in their life and what they're looking for.
Do you think there's something to be said about women and men that both get into their mid 30s and they haven't settled down yet, to where their odds and chances of actually settling down become lower and lower? Let me give you an example. So when I see a woman that's like my age, for example, and I'm 38, that's like single, never settled down, never really lived with a guy, I think like one of two things. Like one, either like she's just never gonna settle down, or like something's missing, and there's a reason why no guy wanted to like lock her down yet. And so that's typically what I think. But like same thing goes with a guy. Like, do you see like guys that are in like their mid late 30s that are like still going out to like parties and PB and that sort of thing, and you're like, that guy's just never gonna settle down.
Yeah. So I always ask, have you been in a relationship and how long was it? And that'll tell me something. If the person's never been in a relationship, that's a red flag for me, anyways. Maybe it's not for everyone, but if somebody's been in a relationship previously, but they're still older and haven't quite settled down yet, I have to look at it from my perspective, I think, which is I'm just not settling. I wouldn't say I'm extremely picky, but I have high standards. And I'm going to stick to those until I find somebody who meets them and I am happy with. And I don't think that's a problem. I'm 27. My mom talks to me like I'm 35. And my biological clock is definitely ticking, but it's not over. So
Yes.
I think I still have time. But I've also been in long-term relationships quite a few times. So yeah, I just think of it as like they might be in that situation where they're not willing to, um, you know, change their standards in any way. And I think that's okay. But I think it just depends on the person. And I guess I have to turn the question around.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, why aren't you settled down?
That's a good question. So I think for me, I like completely reinvented myself at age 33. This is 5 years ago. I was working a full-time air traffic control job. I was working nights, weekends, holidays. I felt stuck. I didn't feel like I was growing any longer, and I knew I needed to make a change. And so I pivoted away from an 11-year air traffic control career, and I got into a completely new world. I unlocked a whole new world of like real estate investing and entrepreneurship where I had no knowledge of it at all. And so I really stopped dating for like 3.5 years because I really wanted this life so much more. And so I stopped dating, completely reinvented myself. And just in the last year and a half or so, I've been in a place to where I can date now. And I'm a changed man, and I've unlocked a whole new world. And I'm grateful that I did all this.
Yeah.
For me now, like I'm ready to meet someone when the right person comes around. I do want to have a marriage. I do want to get married. I do want to have kids. I want to have like 3 or 4 kids. I want a big family. Am I ready to have kids right this second? No, but I would like to have kids in like, 4 or 5 years. And so for me, knowing that, I probably should be dating someone younger, definitely not my age. So, someone that's in their mid to late 20s is kind of a good realm. But, I'll be completely honest. I mean, a woman that's, 38, that's probably not going to work for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Especially with where you're at in life. So yeah, I mean, but I see, I wouldn't take that as a red flag. I would take it as you went through a huge growth experience, which is awesome. And you obviously, like you said, you are a changed man. So to me, that's like
hmm
perfectly fine. You
And
know
I
what I
feel like I
mean?
have a lot more to offer in as a partner today than I did 5 years ago, a lot
Yeah.
more. And I have a lot more freedom too.
I am the same way. I would say for a long time, I thought that I was ready for a relationship, but I had so much growth to do. I'm still young. And so, after like in the past, I would say, well, since October, we really dove into this launch, right? And so my life has changed, and the growth has come with it. It always does. But now I would say I'm in a much better position to talk about a future,
Yeah.
even. You know what I mean? So
hmm
yeah, I think it's cool to go through that time for sure.
Absolutely. So regarding this app, you guys rolled it out how long ago?
So we launched December 9th. We started November 30th with a pretty big event, 1,500 SDSU kids, and every single one of them became an app member. So 100% conversion rate, which is awesome. But our official launch was December 9th at Techo Beso.
Nice. I
Yeah.
love that venue. Little rooftop,
Yeah.
little
So
sunset views.
exactly. They're one of our favorite venues. They're a partner of ours as well. If you're on the app, you can get in there with comped entry and a free welcome cocktail, which is awesome. Our users really love that. And we're also having a party July 13th, which is kind of a group date, if you will, but it's about a 260-person group date,
Wow. Where
which
at?
is a lot of fun. Techo Beso.
Okay.
Yeah.
What day of the week is that?
That is a Saturday. It's
Okay.
actually my birthday, which is
Really?
crazy. Yeah.
Pool party?
It's a pool party, yeah.
Whoa.
Please
Okay.
come. We would love to have you. It's open invite, but we'll be doing some really fun stuff there. So we're gonna be doing human bingo to kind of forge those connections. We're gonna have basketball in the pool. We're giving away Sophie Tucker tickets for November 3rd, which is really exciting. And then we're also running a giveaway right now for a VIP cabana package, including bottle service for
Very
that day.
nice. How do
Yeah.
you, how do you get the VIP cabana?
Um, I'm really good friends with people at Touch of Peso. Yeah, they're a great company to work with, an amazing venue.
Now, how do you win it?
I'm sorry?
You said you're giving it away. How do you win it?
Oh, so on our Instagram, you would comment. I think there's 3 things to do. I don't want to be wrong on them. So check out our Instagram at How It All Begins. You can enter on that post. We have another giveaway right now happening as well. It's a yacht giveaway with Manibal with Cole
Whoa.
Mueller.
On
That's
his
a
on
really
his boat?
fun, yeah.
Nice.
It's a really fun one. It's gonna be full of tequila and so fun. So we have
Nice.
2
When are you guys doing
giveaways
that
right
one?
now. That one we have not announced yet, so it's still open, actually. Yeah, we'll probably announce July 1st, which is coming up.
Nice. That's exciting. I love to hear that. And so you guys rolled out December of last year. And what is your kind of vision moving forward for this? Are you going to stay just hyper local to San Diego, or are you going to expand?
So I'm gonna stay in San Diego for now. I have a goal to get to, and I'm probably not going to move cities
What's
until
the
I
goal?
reach that goal. About 6,000 to 10,000 users. Right now we're at
Oh,
4,500.
let's help you get there. Let's
Yeah,
go.
I would
What can
love
I do to
that.
help you?
Plug it.
Yeah. Well, this podcast is going to help.
All the single
Um,
guys come meet our hot girls, and the girls come meet our hot guys. So, but yeah, I think it's important to, in a sense, dominate San Diego. Hindsight's always 2020, One of the things that I really like to do is be boots on the ground and communicate with my users in person, on social media, whatever that may be. I'm always looking for feedback because I think if you're not listening to your audience or users, whatever that may be, and adjusting per their feedback, you're failing. So maybe not in that moment, but in the future. So I'm really big on meeting our users in person or letting them know that they have a contact directly to the app for not only feedback, but suggestions on what they want to see. And that's one of the things we've done, built the app extremely dynamic to make those quick pivots if needed. Thankfully, I have a great development team behind me, and they've been awesome in that sense. They listen to all my changes and
Yeah.
rarely argue them. And so I'm super, super grateful for their support and their flexibility. But yeah, I mean, we definitely want to move, to other cities. We just want to have a very successful launch in this city. And in my opinion, we're still in that launch phase.
Where do a lot of these dating apps make their money? Like the bigger apps, like the Tinders, the Bumbles, Hinge, they make it through the premium package?
Yeah, so they make it through monetization. We have actually built our app to be a perfect, candidate for that monetization on a big scale, small scale, whatever we want, whether that's a small package or, Tinder. I think they charge their largest package is like $60 a week or a
Okay.
month. So yeah, we've definitely made sure that when we're ready for that, which is at that 6,000 to 10,000 user mark, we can monetize. So get it now while it's free. Um, but yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with dating app buyouts, and they are massive. So
What's that? Oh, like a
use
like a Bumble would buy you out?
yeah, like Match Group acquiring you. Typically your users are valued at about $800 to $1,200.
Really?
We like to say we're at the point of sale, which is true because every other app ends in that communication of chatting, or you'll exchange Instagram, like I said, or a number, and they're typically off the app. Our app, we know where they're going. We know if they like the place. They're typically leaving a review of the date, and we know what our users enjoy and want. So we are definitely at the point of sale in terms of we know if the date was successfully, executed or not, which is an amazing aspect when it comes to
Yeah.
data.
When dating apps get bought out, but let's say Tinder or one of these apps, do they keep it as this smaller app, or do they convert everyone over to like the new one that's
Yeah, so it depends. Match will roll up apps, which is great, but especially if they're, I don't want to say a threat, but a threat in a sense. But yeah, it just depends. It depends on the deal for sure. I think something that's really interesting about our app is we're much different than all the other apps. We're almost like a meetup meets social meets dating. So I think it'll be really interesting once we hit that, hit that landmark to be able to have those conversations.
Yeah, I love it. Well, Jordan, I appreciate you coming on the show and dropping all the dating knowledge. I'm a big fan of everything you're doing, and I'm rooting for you guys. And I'm here to help in any way I can. And I'm definitely going to be out there July 13th, Teco Beso, and excited for it. Where can the listeners get in touch with you, and where can they learn more about your dating app?
Sure. So please follow along on Instagram at How It All Begins. We are constantly posting our events and making sure that, everyone's in the know. But if you actually download the app on iOS, you will get SMS notifications of our upcoming events.
Really? You guys
Um,
have a lot of events.
yeah,
Easy.
yeah. So it's a good way to get the community together and kind of spread that word of mouth a little bit more. Hey, you want to come to this pool party? And then, they're familiar with the brand at that point. So word of mouth has been our biggest asset. So yeah, please follow along for
There it
sure.
is. If you are in San Diego and you are single, go check out that app. She's Jordan McMurtry. I'm Rich Summers. Listeners, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.